Now, my next guest tonight has a quite simply extraordinary story to tell. Sarah de Lagarde was on her way home in September last year when she slipped on a tube platform and fell down the gap between the edge of the platform and a London Underground train. Well, no one realised what had happened, and she was hit by not one, but two trains before anyone came to her aid. And Sarah now wants to make sure that that never happens to anyone else. Well, she joins me in the studio now. Sarah, so good to see you tonight.
Hello.
This happened just a year ago, and I just remarked when you walked into the studio in the advert break, just what a remarkable cover it looks like you have made in that year. Because what happened to you was horrific and harrowing. Let's not, mince words about it. Take me back to that night. You'd fallen asleep on a train. It was wet, you slipped. Pick up the story.
Yes, so I slipped on a puddle on the platform and crashed against the stationary train, fell through the gap in between the train and the platform. I injured myself badly enough to break a nose and my two front teeth, and then the train departed and took my right arm with it. I was conscious throughout and I shouted for help, and nobody heard me. And the second train came into the platform and claimed my right leg. I was still conscious after that, still determined to make it home, because in my mind's eye, I could see my two daughters and they were telling me, "Mummy, you have to come home. What are you doing?" And at that point, somebody heard me.
Sarah, between you slipping between the gap and someone coming to help you, that was nearly an hour.
So I was on the tracks for 15 minutes before somebody raised the alarm, and then it took another hour before the rescue services arrived. And there were a series of things that delayed my saving, basically. I was told that switching off the power line took ages because nobody knew who to contact, so the paramedics couldn't get under the train to get me out of there. Eventually they had me on a plastic board and shoveled me all the way up, 30 metres of underneath a train carriage. Apparently the staff didn't know which number to call, and it took 5 minutes or more. So many avoidable mistakes and failings that TfL has allowed to happen. And I have to live with the fact now to know that it could have been just a slip and somebody could have found me and I would have gotten away with a broken nose and two front teeth.
The circumstances a bit different. This was late at night. You were at the end of a train line. All those circumstances led to what happened to you. You were conscious when this happened. You lost an arm and you lost a leg. The physical impact of that is evident. You're sitting here with, an incredible robotic arm. The advances in medicine and technology have enabled you to carry on with your life. But the psychological impact of what you went through, just you talking through what happened to you there on the tracks, it sounds like something from a horror movie, if I'm quite frank, and you lived through that. Can you talk to me about the impact it's had on you mentally?
It obviously has a major impact, and the sad thing, it's not impacting just me, it's impacting all the people around me, especially the closest, my daughters, my husband. It's been a really, really tough year, and there are days where everything's so dark that the thoughts of thinking, why did I even survive this? I was told by doctors I should have died 10 times that night. It's a complete miracle that I survived. And I hold on to that, but I also hold on to the fact that if I survived, it was for a reason, and it is to highlight that these safety procedures that TfL think they have are not sufficient. Otherwise, I wouldn't, be here with these injuries.
The London Tube network is used by 2 million people every day. 16 incidents like yours happen every month. Somebody ending up on the track somehow, accidents like that. Most people will have had experience of the tube network in London, and you stand behind a yellow line, that gap between the tube carriage and the platform. Often when you step over it, you think, oof, that's pretty big. So much of your safety is on the trust of others to behave responsibly, because, in a packed commute, it can feel overwhelming. What do you feel needs to be done to make travel safer?
Well, I did get that question quite often. And it's really hard for me to say because I'm not an engineer. I don't know
Shouldn't be
how.
up to you, should it?
It
Shouldn't be up to you.
But in my thinking, it's not just a money question. It is the fact that we are led to believe that CCTV is being watched live. It is not. Could there be an AI system that monitors that? Why are there no sensors on the tracks? Every car has got a sensor, but not the tracks. How come there's no staff in the stations? That
Why are the
shouldn't
basics
happen.
not done for if somebody falls on the tracks? There should be
A training-
something in place.
Yeah.
I mean, presumably there is. Perhaps the staff there that night just didn't know, but you feel like that should be such a priority.
And the thing is, I'm led to believe that this was a freak accident, an unfortunate series of events. But it's not true. I have, since the accident and since I've spoken publicly about it, received hundreds and hundreds of messages from people who said, oh, this nearly happened to me. And I was lucky that a member of the public fished me out. And it's always a member of the public. And that leads me to the point where change needs to happen. I didn't sacrifice an arm and a leg for nothing to happen on the back of it.
Well, Sarah, you're raising awareness of it, and I know that you're going to keep pushing it. Like you said, you made the ultimate sacrifice, and you're here to tell the story. You're so fortunate, and thank you so much for coming in to talk to us tonight on the UK Tonight. We wish you and your family well. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Well, some really interesting and important questions raised there. We have had a statement from Transport for London, TfL, from Nick Dent, the Director of Customer Operations at London Underground. They say our thoughts continue to be with Sarah de Lagarde and her family following the devastating incident at High Barnet station last year. We have offered her direct support through our Sarah Hope Line service, and we remain receptive to Sarah's views about the network. Safety is our top priority, and we continue to take every possible measure to learn from any incident and put in place appropriate improvements.